What's going on, Kettlebell Kings? This is Marcus, and we're going live. I'm very excited about this. This is going to be our full body strength and power. I'm also going live on Instagram, so bear with me for just a split second. We'll get things going. Start. There we go. Connection. So much fun. Technology is fun. What's up? This is Marcus Martinez, and this is our full body strength and power exercise workout. So we're, of course, going to be using kettlebells. Ideally, you're going to have a few different pairs. If you have a whole sexy alignment of kettlebells, yeah, that's an awesome thing to have. So ideally, again, some pairs, because we are going to be doing some double cleans, some push presses, a few different things. It's going to be somewhat basic, and then I'll definitely add in a little bit of stuff for you to have some fun with it. So we'll start off with a short warm-up, and then we'll get at it. And everything's going to be for reps, and I'll have the whole thing saved on here. So you can always come back to it. But if your technique is just slightly off, ask some questions. I'd love to help you out at the end of this, or here, wherever you are. So love to hear where y'all are from. I am from Southern California, even though I just said y'all, because you all is just too much work. And now explaining it is just taking up more time. All right, so like I said, we're going to be using double kettlebells for 2 of the exercises, and then at least one kind of heavier kettlebell. So double kettlebells, I want it to be relatively light. You can get it overhead fairly easily. We're going to be doing some clean variations. We're going to be doing some overhead variations. So something a little bit lighter, but not too light, because we're going to keep the reps between the 5 to 8 rep range. And then for the single bell work, I want you to go as heavy as you feel comfortable. 2 exercises we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing Deadstop Swings. So all we're doing is we're stopping the momentum each time. And then we're also going to be doing some explosive deadlifts with an isometric hold, a squat hold. So I'll walk you through the exercises before we go through them, and then we'll party on, Wayne. All right, so we'll start off with a very short warm-up, just 3 exercises, just to get hips and shoulders feeling nice and good. So I want you to bring your arms up. We're just going to go some corkscrews. This is literally my go-to before just about every kettlebell workout. But I want you, rather than just going through the motions, really focus on getting that rotation, rotating through the shoulders, rotating through the torso, through the hips, and then try to just get that full range of motion. We're just going to go for about 10 reps or so, 5 per side. And then we'll get into some hinges. And shake it out. So you take as long as you need to warm up. This is a live. I want to kind of go through these movements relatively quickly, but if you need to take a little bit more time, that's fine. So I want you to stand up nice and tall. We're going to do some hinges. So I want you to drive your hips back. Actively pull your hips back. Don't just bend over. I want you to actively pull back. Feel that in the hamstrings. If you're not feeling that in the hamstrings, maybe you're hyper flexible. I want you in this position to get that anterior tilt. So I'm trying to tilt my pelvis up so that my tailbone is going up to the sky, and that's going to elongate the hamstring a little bit. It's going to allow you to kind of sink in there. And then instead of just driving your hips forward, I want you to drive through the ground, stand up nice and tall, get into that posterior tilt. Talked about it a million times. Fancy way of just saying squeeze your glutes. When you squeeze your glutes, that kind of locks everything into place, add some rigidity through your torso. So it's going to help once we start getting ballistic with the swings. I'm going to assume you're at a relatively intermediate-ish level with kettlebells. So I'll give you some during the rest periods. Since this is a strength and power workout, we're going to be resting a little bit more. During those times, I'll use that to give you some technique tips. And also how you can regress it to 1 kettlebell to more basic exercises. All right, shake it out. Let's do some spinal waves. So stand up nice and tall. I want you to tuck your chin, round your shoulders, round your back, keeping your legs straight but not locked out as far as you can. Once you hit that end position, bend your knees and pull your shoulders back and look up. So we're just doing this nice spinal wave. Love this exercise. Just feels good in the morning. Kids look at me like I'm a psycho. I'm like, just you wait. We'll be doing all this mobility stuff in the next year. Shake it out. We're going to go one more time through that. So corkscrews, right into the hinges, right into the spinal waves. So again, if you have any kettlebell questions, you can ask any question you want, but specifically kettlebell questions, I'll answer them at the end of this, at the end of the live, or even through the rest periods. Back, forth, and go into the hinges. So now we can kind of speed it up a little bit. So I want to be able to pattern that hinge quickly while still maintaining that tension. Make sure that I'm finding those different positions. So at that bottom position, shoulders are above hips. I'm not rounding. I'm making sure my knees are tracking over the toes. I'm keeping my feet flat. At the top position, I'm driving my feet to the ground, squeezing my glutes, squeezing my abs, so that I'm not hyperextending at the top position. So if I can't do this without load, why the heck would I do this with load, let alone ballistically? So you typically see someone doing swings and like all over the place. It's like, okay, well, let's scale it back. What is the simplest variation? Or even just how can we get them into the position we want them to be in safely? It also allows you to start kind of practicing your breath, matching your breath to the movement. So that's going to be very beneficial once we start doing this with some load. All right, spinal waves, round, extend. So now I can shorten this range of motion, just focus on the spine. I can extend on it. Now I'm going all the way down into the hips, up through the shoulders. So getting some ankles, some knees, hips, shoulders, back, neck. That's the way I like to mobilize. All right, so we're gonna start off. We're gonna do this straight set. So we'll stick to one exercise. We'll go through it, we'll rest, and then we'll keep progressing through the exercises. So we've only got 4 exercises here. We're starting off with double dead start cleans. I don't know why I'm cocky, but I am. So double dead start cleans, all that implies is it's a vertical pull. So similar to a barbell where I'm pulling vertically, but what's gonna change here is I'm gonna make sure the bell lands safely on the forearms. It doesn't come up and over. I'm not treating it like a barbell, okay? So it's just one variation. You can do double cleans with the hinge, you can do double cleans, stagger position, all kinds of it. So we'll start off, the bells are gonna be right at my heels. I'm gonna pull my hips down, shoulders up high. I'm gonna explode, come into the rack position, right back down. So I wanna unravel the bells explosively so that, and then follow them down so that I don't jerk my elbow, I don't jerk my shoulder, and I'm always in control. One more, and down. Whew. All right, it's gonna be the unsexiest live. We're gonna have lots of rest periods, lots of time to chat, lots of time to mess around with my timer that's not working. It's all right, and it just broke. There you go. All right, just gotta keep moving, show what's going on. So what I like about this is that really allows me to use some heavy weights. It's going to intensify the kettlebells because it's going to be, we're working 2 different kettlebells. So of course, a barbell, you're going to be able to use the most amount of weight unless you're using 48 Ks and 52 Ks or whatever's heavy for you. But because we're working 2 individual weights, because we have to try to maintain that control, it's going to make the exercise feel significantly harder. And because we're not using that repeat effort with the hinge, we're not going to be able to go as heavy. Like you might be able to double clean 32 Ks. With these, you might only be able to go up to 24 Ks or even 20 Ks. All right, so next thing we'll do, same exercise. We're going to go 3 rounds through this. But what I want to show you is that you can absolutely incorporate that triple extension so you can get that full power from the exercise. And my goal with this live, my goal with any of the lives I do, or any of the posts that I make, is to show you how to get the most for kettlebells, to really fine tune and customize it to your needs. All right, let's do it again. This time, I'm gonna come up into triple extension, up onto my toes, and then just catch it with a slight, ever so slight knee bend. So I'm not driving all the way under like I would with the bar. All I'm gonna do is catch it in a slight squat, stand up, and then repeat. So breathe in, keep that tension, up into triple extension, and then right into that catch. Right back down. Up into triple extension, and that catch, right back down. Down. One more. And down. You would like belts. You can just get so much power from this. I love it. But for me, like, I love the Olympic lifts. I absolutely love them. There are some phenomenal coaches that can get you where you want to go with that. To me, the kettlebells was a great way to make the Olympic lifts a little bit more accessible. And I know if you're a weightlifter, you're going to say it's blasphemy to say, like, no, I can't do it with kettlebells. And yes, I'm not going to load the same amount as I would on a bar. But to work ballistically through that concentric phase, to hold all that weight, whatever weight I'm using, maintaining a ton of core strength, a ton of pressure to be able to maintain that, to be able to decelerate the weights without dropping them, because the difference here is I can't just throw the weight down. I mean, I can, but you shouldn't. Look at these pretty bells. Aaron used to get so mad at me because I get so mad at him when he was like clanking the bells together. I'm like, listen, these bells, they're pretty. I want to keep them pretty. Okay? Don't need them all scuffed up. So you have to control that deceleration. And then if you're doing repeat effort stuff, then you absolutely want to control that downswing. All right, let's do it again. Pull the shoulders down, pull the hips down, squeeze. So now I can catch with a little bit more of a dip. And you'll notice I'm getting to a little bit more extension, kind of like what you would see in a barbell, as I pull the weights up. Matching my breath to the exertion. Down. And one more. And you can even hold, add an isometric hold at the top. And down. Oh, I love it. Just freaking love it. Just the way that feels. And then adding in that pause, that isometric hold with the rack position. I know that people are like, you don't need to do abs. I mean, you really don't. All right, so this is the double Deadstart clean. So if you only have one belt, you can do it alternating style. So this is your rest period. I'm gonna work through the rest period. All right, so you can do the same idea with a single belt. So as you come up, still get a triple extension, still catch with that bit of a squat pause. And so that way you can go a little bit heavier than you would if you were using that downswing and a lot of forward hip momentum. So you can go ahead with that. You can alternate it. If you have dumbbells, do it like that. Let's see if there's any questions. This is 16K, so I'm just making it sound a little bit heavier than it is. I'd like to continue talking while doing it. If you have any questions on here, let me know. This is a live kind of day. Love all y'all guys on here. It's awesome. All right. All right. Next up. So that was the double Deadstart clean. Next up, we're going to do an alternating push press. So we're going to rack up both weights. But what we're going to do is we're going to drive up, repeat on the other side. So we're going to alternate back and forth. So this is great if you lack shoulder mobility and getting both bells overhead is just a little bit too challenging. So that's number one. Number two, it's going to allow you to go a little bit heavier because we're working one side at a time. But what's great about this kind of alternating variation, we're still putting the tension on our lower body, our core. So even though it's a little bit easier on the shoulder, it's still extremely challenging. All right, so we're going to rack those bells up. And if we're holding that rack position, I want to make sure rack position looks good. So what I want to do is I want to be look at vertical, and then I can come in slightly, but personally, I like to have vertical here. So vertical forearm, I'm going to dip, press, right back down. Dip, press, right back down. So I can control that descent. Control that descent each time. Pull that belt down. Explode, control. Down, up. One more side. And time. Bring those weights down. So again, try to go a little bit heavier on that. So that way it will really challenge you. Tilt this up just a hair. That way it will really challenge you. It's going to build some upper body strength, definitely some lower body strength because we're powering through that. Oh, feel good. It's not hot in here at all. I am definitely not sweating a lot right now. You can't tell. It's not coconut oil, that's actual sweat. Shake it out. So when holding that rack position, common mistake people make is they get into this wrist extension kind of position here where they do this. Maybe it feels a little uncomfortable on the forearms. So they kind of try to play around with it. Try to stick to a slight bit of flexion through the wrist. Neutral to flexed is ideal. You just don't want to go into extension. But from this position right here, keep that forearm relatively vertical. Slight internal rotation is fine. But what I want to avoid is any external rotation in that position. Holding that bell, that just is not good for shoulders, not good for wrists, for elbows. It's not good for your soul. It's not good for anything. All right, let's do it again. Alternating push press. So rack them up. We're going to push press one, pull it down, push press the other, pull it down. So go as heavy as you feel comfortable with. So I'm going to clean up, pull shoulders down, squeeze my abs, crack the walnut, right back down. So on that top position, using that other bell in the rack position as an anchor is going to help you kind of mitigate how far back you're pulling your shoulders. So a lot of times just overhead, people don't have that control. This maintains that connection to your front side, so it keeps that rib down. You're not really going to get into extension or too much thoracic extension at that top position while holding that rack position. But the negatives here is that you got to do both sides, so it takes some time. And then on top of that, just hold those bells in place is going to challenge your breath work. Oh, one more. And down. So rest here about a minute for the purposes of this live. If I were to use the weights that are really going to challenge me in the 5 to 8 rep range, I would recommend resting 2 to even 3 minutes between sets. So you can really focus as much intention as you can and use the heaviest weights you can with perfect form. So if you want to lighten it up, do the minute rest range. You can even turn this into conditioning, turn it into a circuit, as you would probably see on most kettlebell workouts. It's typically circuits. But in this case, the goal here is strength and power. I'm going to see if there's any questions. Totally should have had my 13-year-old in here reading off things if there was anything. So you can ask your questions, any technique questions you might have on specific exercises, programming questions you might have. There's so much kettlebell stuff out there, which I love, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of interesting kettlebell things. And I love a lot of the stuff out there. I'm all for flows, I'm all for juggles and all that kind of stuff that you can do with kettlebells. I'm all for just straight strength work. I'm all for high rep work on some exercises. So it's all about finding what works for you and what kind of value you're trying to derive from your training. What kind of results are you trying to get? All right. Last set, alternating push presses. So I'm going to slightly dip, press, pull that weight down, dip, press, pull that weight down. So the entire time, I want to imagine like I'm doing a plank. My abs are engaged. My gluteus gluteus is engaged. Squeezing. I'm trying to keep perfect alignment so I'm not looking up, down, all around. Control the descent. Explode through the ascent. And when you control that negative, that eccentric phase, it's going to allow you to use some lighter weights and still get some results from them. Oh, goodness. Goodness. Check it out. Nice. You are welcome. Hopefully that's helping. Like I said, you got any questions, ask away. Teaching courses since 2011, seen so many iterations of the kettlebell world, have gone through so many organizations, worked with so many amazing coaches for the sole purpose of how can I find what's most useful for myself and for my client at that time. So there's definitely been some evolution in my training, as there should be in yours. So what you think is the only way, or the way that, the best way to do something might change. So the good thing about social media is it gives us a wide spectrum of training modalities, even just with the kettlebell, training ways to train with the kettlebell and types of coaches. So I would definitely recommend keeping an open mind, but be somewhat methodical with how you incorporate the stuff that you see. You might see something looks really rad, person looks awesome, and then you realize, wow, this doesn't feel good. Or anatomically, biomechanically speaking, man, it doesn't really work that way. So just use common sense. I guess that was just a long rant of saying use common sense. All right, so now we're going to do some Deadstop Swing. So the way I like to describe them, Deadstart, just straight up vertical pull. Deadstop, I'm going to do the movement, but let the bell land in the ground between each one. So we're going to do a Deadstop swing where I'm going to do a more hard style type of swing where I'm trying to explode through that hip extension and then actively pull that weight down and then reset. I want to pause on the reset for just about a second, but like a 1/1000, not like a kid in the corner second. I want you to actually like stop there for a second, reset, and then go. Because I want you to use the heaviest weight that you can handle. Siri, I want you to use the heaviest weight that you can handle and as much tension as you can possibly muster, as much speed as you possibly can with that weight. So that way, at the end of those 5 reps, it feels like, oh, it's like I just did, 5 barbell snatches, like Olympic snatches. All right, ready? 5 reps. So I'm going to explode, hike, stand, hike, touch. 3, 2, 1. So I added a little bit more. Pulled an audible. Yeah. A little bit heavier on this one. This is from 5. And oh. So again, I want you to explode through this. I want you to feel like you're using heavy, heavy, heavy explosive weights. Thank you, Mark, for promoting me. Awesome. I'm happy for you, Mike. I'm glad that you got up, got some working out in. If you're happy to do this, it's Monday morning. Typically, we're not having mimosas on Monday, so I'm sure you're doing a little workout. And if you are, fantastic. Glad you're joining me. All right, let's go heavier on these, but still maintaining that same rest. Still about a minute plus. All right, here. So we're doing that dead stop swing, explode in that downswing, explode through that hip extension, and then, or through that initial pull, through the extension, and then let the bell land. All right. Ready. Deadstop swings. So I'm going to hike, explode, hike, touch. Ready. Hike, explode, hike, touch. 3, 2, 1. So you have to match your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And if you just start singing, pushing your head, then you're a 90s kid. One more. Woo! Woo! So I'm all about getting more from the movement that we're doing, rather than just mindlessly adding reps and sets and doing so much extra work. How can you just squeeze all the juice out of the movement that you're doing? How can you get the most bang for your buck? So I am by no means a minimalist style trainer. I like a lot of different things. I like incorporating rotation. I love incorporating flow. But whatever I do, I want to go all in with that. I want to get as much from that as possible. So if I'm doing just swings, I want to get as much from that as possible. If I'm doing some version of get-ups, windmills, flows, I want to get as much from that as possible. I never want to move unintentionally where it's just getting through the motions. If you're a trainer or coach, I'm sure you've experienced that with your clients where they just want to kind of get through the workout. Now, this isn't a P90X DVD. I want you to try to get stronger, build some mobility, move better. I want you to become a better version of you, whatever that is, whatever that means. Oh. I put programs out And I would have the rest periods in the beginning, like a minute or so plus. And to one of the complaints, someone messaged me, they're like, the rest periods are too long. These are only a minute, mind you, but the rest periods were too long. So I messaged them, I was like, go heavier. That's it. Okay, the rest periods are good. So a common mistake that people make with kettlebell training is they try to do everything with that one bell. So they get a 16K or a 24 or whatever weight, and they're like, I'm gonna do everything with this, but it's way too light for deadlifts and swings, or way too light for squats, or way too heavy for a certain movement. So just find the weight that works for you with the exercise that you're doing. All right, last one. 2 hand swings. Pull the shoulders back. Breathe in. So you can do that hiss, that soft maneuver. You can do as long as you just let some air out. But no matter what, keep that tension through your torso. Check it out. We're gonna do a bonus round where we're gonna do a touch and go for 5 reps. Touch and go. Ready. So, no pause. You can use more tension, less tension, but just keep going. Ready, set, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, I love repeat swings. I love repeat ballistic work. That was not the purpose of today. I also like mixing it up, incorporating the Deadstop, the Deadstart, and changing the angles. So the easiest way to do that, strength, power, and conditioning, is you can incorporate it based on the day. So you can do a strength style workout. Everything's in that kind of 5 to 10 rep range. All the exercises allow you to progressively overload relatively well. Your technical skills obviously going to allow you to pick the weight, but you'll have that day. You'll have a power day where you do just ballistic exercises in the 1 to 5 rep range. I like to go more 3. I don't really like to do 1 rep maxes, especially not kettlebells. Focus on that. And then for conditioning, you can have a whole conditioning day where everything is timed. That's where you can incorporate flows. That's where you can incorporate, juggles and complexes, or high rep work. If you don't like any of those things, you can do your 10,000 swings at that day. Not actually 10,000, but you know what I'm saying. So that's an easy, super easy model to follow. And it's just 3 workouts, full body workouts a week, which I'm a huge proponent of. The other way that you can do that is you can put them all into one individual workout. So your power, explosive power stuff goes at the beginning of the workout. Your strength work, accessory work goes in the middle. Your conditioning, finishers, flows go at the end. So if you partition it that way, that will be very helpful as well. What is a rule of thumb on the height of the swing? I find I swing up to my chest level, but not sure if that's too far. You've gone too far. No. So I was just talking about this on the live I just did. So there's all these debates on how high you need to go for the kettlebell swing. My main focus is, do you have the explosive hip hinge pattern? Do you have the timing of your arms connected to your body when you're hinging? So as long as your swing looks like this and not this, as long as you're not hinging too soon, then I honestly don't care. So for my clients, I always kind of played with belly button to chest height. So that was the alligator. That was how far I would really work. So if, let's say, this is how high they were going, okay, let's go a little bit higher. Chest height, that's about as high as I would go. Let's say that timing was just off. They started hinging too soon. I would tell them to go a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower, until they ended up just doing compact swings, just so they can focus on the explosive hinge. That's the most important thing. This will make the bell come down faster. It will definitely add some tension, and it will make it more difficult, add some more load just from acceleration. But the purpose here is the explosive hinge, the explosive extension. So hinge extension, that's what we're trying to focus on. Repeat efforts of that. Once that feels good, play around with it. Get your friggin' heart rate up, that's for sure. The other question that pops up a lot is, should I have bent elbows? Should I have straight elbows? That drives me absolutely bananas because number one, who cares? The only reason why I would argue for straight elbows is that on the way down, you maintain straight elbows. So what I don't want is bent elbows on the way down. That's a surefire way to just, tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, whatever kind of messed up elbow you want, you'll get it. If you keep your elbows bent on that downswing and you do a lot of that, it's going to jack you up. So with straight arms, you're not really going to run into that problem. Personally, I like a slight bend, not like a T-Rex bend. I like a slight bend at the top because what I find is I have a little bit more scapular control. So this allows me to really engage and kind of break that bell in half, pull my shoulders back, retract my scapula, retract my shoulders. So I just have to make sure from a timing standpoint, my arms are straight on the way down. So that's why for me personally, and when I teach kettlebells, I typically have this little bend. If you like straight elbows, more power to you. Personally, I've gone through every variation. And not just every variation, I've gone through variations and been like, that's the only way. You gotta do it that way. You don't do it that way, you're doing it wrong, bro. So that's how I used to be. But evolved near 40 Marcus is a totally different Marcus here in front of you guys. All right. Appreciate that jackhammer coming out to play. My neighbor decided to take out their, they already had a pool, take out their pool, put in a new pool apparently. Super rad. All right, last one we're gonna do. So this is gonna be an explosive deadlift right into a two-hand clean, right into a squat hold. So we're adding some explosive power, strength, and then we're incorporating explosive power right into an isometric hold, which I love for building strength. We're not gonna go too heavy here. I want you to use something that you can hold the horns, because if you flip it upside down or hold like in the goblet squat position, you're not going to have as much control. Also, I'm pretty sure I'm going to break my watch if I do this, so just in case. I'll break it by throwing it. So we're going to go 5 explosive deadlifts, 1 two-hand clean right into a squat hold for about 10 seconds. I want you to literally squeeze the ever-loving crap out of the kettlebell. Like if you break that thing, pull it apart, I promise you Kettlebell Kings will send you a belt. You pull that thing, you pull that handle off just with your own bare strength. First off, you find out that you're a superhero, so that's an awesome plus. But then you're also going to get a new kettlebell. All right, great. So we'll keep it simple on the first one, and I'll just keep progressing it up. So the first one, we're just going to go fast through the eccentric and the concentric, so we're not going to pause at any point. We're not going to come up off the ground, triple extension, or jumping. We're just going to go fast. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's technically 6. Squeeze, squeeze. Don't come down too low. I want there to be some tension. That's 10 seconds. Oh, it's probably like 7 seconds, but oh, man. When you add in those isometric holds at the end of explosive work, F you, Lou Ferrigno. It's from a movie. I don't mean that to you, Lou Ferrigno. All right, shake it out. We're gonna go back to that. So I really like this one again. If you don't know swings, you don't know explosive hinging, this is a great exercise. Explosive deadlifts are a great way to build up into the swings. But I wanted the bulk of the work, like I said at the beginning of this, I assumed you were at somewhat of an intermediate level. So you at least knew how to do swings. But if not, you can always just skip it and go to this one. Shake it out. Go as heavy as you can with this. As heavy as you can. Don't hold back on me. I want you to push yourself. You too. All right, so this one now, we're gonna go into triple extension. So fancy way of saying come up onto the toes. So I'm trying to derive some more power. So similar to what you would see, like what we talked about earlier with the cleans and any kind of Olympic lifts, and really what you see in life. If I go jump, if I go run, I'm gonna get into triple extension. So why not practice that? All right, ready. Not gonna come off the ground though. I'm just gonna go in that triple extension. 1, 2, 3, 5. 2 incline. Ready. Squeeze. Ah. Oh, dramatic noises. That's challenging. I'm not gonna lie. You're right in that pause, all of a sudden you have to double down that tension, that breath work. It is definitely going to push you. So we've been resting about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, which is better, but I want you in this phase of your lifting, if you're doing this for strength and power, it's only 4 exercises. I want you to rest approximately 2 minutes. 3 ideal, then I know between each rep, or for each rep and for each set, you're gonna be able to put 100% into that. You're gonna have rest long enough that you'll be able to put that same output out. But we're only going 3 sets on this one, but I'll show you how you can vary it and all that stuff. So, on this last set, we're going ham. We're leaving the ground, waiting for liftoff. We're gonna go full explosive deadlift. So I want you to definitely leave the ground if you feel comfortable, but if not, maybe you got some wonky knees or ankles or lower back is kind of bugging you, stick to either triple extension or the fast concentric eccentric where you're lifting, lowering it quickly, or you can just pick one. Focus on the fast lift and then control on the way down. Fast lift, control on the way down. So without getting too detailed, throwing out too many variations here. All right, last one. Explosive deadlift. So we'll go 5 reps and then right into that 2-hand clean. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's tight. Oh, goodness. Felt that one. It's right along here. But this workout, these 4 exercises, fantastic full body workout. Definitely going to get you some strength and power as long as you progress with it. So, if you have only 2 bells across the board, then you might want to change the rep ranges for each one. So maybe for those Deadstart cleans, maybe you need to go a few more, realizing that I can't sit too far back from the YouTube live. I'm a professional, people. But if you have weights that maybe are going to challenge you for one of those, but not another one, that's where you can change up the rep ranges. So make it work for you. And then if you're talking about balancing out movement patterns and such, then we have to add in a horizontal push, a vertical or a horizontal row, a vertical pull. So don't neglect any of the movement patterns. I'm not saying you have to be perfectly balanced every single workout, but just throughout the span of the week, try to balance things out so that way you don't get into the trap of what most kettlebellers do, which is they get really excited about swings and cleans and snatches, and they do swings, cleans, and snatches, and then they forget, like, oh shit, I should probably do some other things that are gonna, build the longevity of these joints and balance things out. So that's a common mistake. Yo, Dolby, what's up, brother? Good to see you on here. Shout out to Dolby, freaking master. Fun fact, Dolby put me through one of my first kettlebell sport practices. And I realized right there that he's an absolute animal and that kettlebell sport is an absolute insane sport for insane people. And I mean that in the most loving way possible. But y'all are nuts and I love it. But anyway, so for this workout, I'll have it listed on here. I'll have it written down on here so that way you can definitely come back to it. And going back to what the great question was, how do I program strength, power, conditioning? Like I said, you can spread it out through the week, have a strength day, have a power day, have a conditioning day, or you can put them all into a workout. Just make sure from rest perspective, you're not doing everything fast-paced circuit. Not everything has to be done very quickly. I want you to rest through these. So rest for the power section, rest through the strength section, through the conditioning section. That's when you can start having a little bit of fun, incorporating some flow, incorporating some juggling, incorporating some different things, incorporating some sport. If you're not a true sport practitioner, then because if you're a sport practitioner, unless you're open to a lot of things, you're probably not watching this. But I like to incorporate some shorter less intense sports sets of long cycles, so clean and jerks. Great way to add in some conditioning and just testing your mettle and testing your will to live. Anyway, all right, so if there are no more questions, I didn't go through that. I'm super sweaty. I don't know about y'all, unless you were doing this with me. But if not, awesome. Hope you enjoyed. So I will see you all on the next one, and this one here first. And yes, and then